Obviously, the air traffic control is going to be central in this investigation and what they saw and what they were directing both aircraft to do. So joining us right now is retired air traffic controller Louis DeSena. Was a air traffic controller in the military, but also as a civilian, and he is joining us now just to talk about what this investigation is going to, where this investigation will go. Louis, welcome to TMZ Live.
Good afternoon, guys. How you doing?
Louis, when you saw, obviously, you saw the news last night, but then the news conference this morning pointing fingers, what President Trump was basically saying is that there were inept, what he's hinting at is the possibility of inept air traffic controllers being hired under the previous administration. Your reaction to that?
Well, it's probably true. I've been out of the business since 2006, and we had a little bit of that going on back then. And it's a very stressful occupation. Same with pilots. And the standards do get lowered sometimes, and that's not healthy. And then they're going to go through all these records. This is what's going to happen. The NTSB already has pulled all medical records, all personnel files, all training files for the pilots, for the American pilots, for the air traffic controllers, their history. It's all that data is kept. And they're going to go through every training episode. These pilots of the military aircraft were on a training mission. So this gentleman, I think it was a male pilot. I don't know, because I think it was the co-pilot who might have responded that he had the CRJ in sight. We don't know. That stuff we don't know yet. We're going to figure that out. NTSB is going to probably have a preliminary pretty quickly about this. It's not mechanical. There was no call for an emergency or medical emergency on the thing. So I wouldn't even go there that it was a medical emergency. This has pilot error written all over it. I hate to say that, because those were
Louis, that's interesting. You think pilot error and not air traffic control?
Well, I have some questions about the late call out by the air traffic controller on, do you see the CRJ? Because it just seems like it's 3 seconds before the crash, 4 seconds before the crash. He goes, do you see that? And then you hear on the tape, oops,
someone gasping. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And now we don't know, because sometimes these things get edited and we don't know the full length of these and where they're actually at. So we're going to have to wait and see that, of what it actually comes out. And the timeline will be in the NTSB report. It's going to give us the actual timeline. But this is a training route. They fly this route all day long. So from what I've seen, and I have looked at the data from another channel on the data for the American flight, and that plane was on a perfect stabilized approach and was right on course, like was just perfectly stabilized. So that plane did nothing wrong. The American pilot did nothing wrong. So we can eliminate him. I don't see that being, now, of course, this is my speculation, so I don't know, because they're going to have a lot more data. But from what I heard was that pilot was perfectly on final. When what we call stabilized approach, it means he's on glide path, he's on the azimuth, the lineup with the runway, his speed is perfect, everything is going perfect. So this is something where the helicopter pilot is supposed to miss the plane. That's why I say it's mostly going to be on the helicopter pilot.
Louis, I know that you were in your career fortunate enough to not have a disaster on your watch. Were you ever present where one of your colleagues did go through this? And what is it like? Actually, really, what is it like for everybody in the tower when this happens? Even if it wasn't your aircraft, I would imagine as an air traffic controller, this is the worst day possible. And what is it like for the people going through that investigation?
It's interesting you say that, because I saw this last night on the news and my heart sank, and I hadn't felt that since I was an air traffic controller. I would imagine the control room got very sober and somber very quickly, and that everyone's kind of dealing with it, but they still have to be professional. You can see they were still doing their job. You can hear them still calling out stuff and controlling the planes. But I've worked, I've had 747 in Iceland with a bomb on board. I've had planes with fires on board. I never lost one that, thank God all mine landed. But value jet. I was working, waiting for that value jet crash to come into my airspace. And it never made it to Jacksonville Center. Remember, it crashed in the Everglades. So it just kind of, everyone just kind of is like loses their breath.
Out of your experience, how long do you think it's going to be before we actually get answers to what really happened?
They're going to do a preliminary. They're going to give you a breakdown of what they have. And then they're going to come out with, it'll be 15 to 30 days. Then they're going to come out months later. They'll come out with an official report. But again, we're going to have to look at this because that controller calls traffic really late.
Yeah.
And if those helicopters are so nimble, I'm like, that's the other surprising thing. You think that a helicopter could make a quick maneuver and evade a
But you
plane.
think
It's just
this is where like sleep deprivation comes in.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
if you have sleep deprivation, it's like having alcohol in your system.
Right.
So it's like you guys going home really late from work from a very long day and you're driving and you feel yourself jerking a little bit because your body's not responding the right way. That's what it's like with sleep
Well,
deprivation.
we appreciate you joining us.